In this GlassTrax training video, I'll be covering how to enter the 3 different types of purchase orders that you can issue from GlassTrax. The first one is just a restocking purchase order. It's something when you might buy stock sheets or hardware. There's no customer involvement. It's just a straight up transaction between you and your vendor to restock your inventory. The second method is what we call a purchase order buyout. Now, with this case, there is a customer involvement because you are issuing a sales order to a customer, but you need to buy the inventory for that order from a vendor. So in other words, it's something that you don't have on hand or you don't plan on having on hand, and so you're buying from a vendor in order to fulfill an order to a customer. That is a purchase order buyout. The last way is what we call a supporting PO. A supporting purchase order is for a third-party vendor. So for example, let's say you're buying glass and your vendor is sending it to you via FedEx. And they said you'll be responsible to pay FedEx what the shipping costs are. So you would issue a purchase order to your vendor, and then you would issue a supporting PO to FedEx for the specific amount of freight that they'll be charging you so that you can get those piggybacked together and kind of what we call married on the data side. They're married together so that the cost can go and be allocated across the inventory that you've received. So to jump right into it, I'm going to go to the purchases section and I'm going to go to enter purchase orders right here. First, I'm going to be doing just a straight up purchase order. I'm restocking inventory. So I'm going to tab through here and assign my PO number and assign my date. I'm going to be buying from Glassman. If I don't know my vendor ID, I can always use my binoculars. I'm going to tab through my receipt date and ship date. You can put in your estimated receipt date there and ship date if you want to have vendor performance measured, on-time deliveries and things like that. Most of my customers haven't cared a ton about that, but it is there for you if you want to see that. I'm going to have this delivered to me, but my other option would be a direct ship to my customer or will call where I go pick it up. I'm going to come here to my non-material cost button and I'm going to add costs here. Now these, you can see I've got several that are not defined, but I've got freight and surcharge here. Let's say they charge me a 12% surcharge. These are non-material costs that need to be accounted for when I need to know what the cost of my inventory actually is. So yeah, they might be charging me $2.05 a square foot for this product, but there's also a 12% energy surcharge or fuel surcharge that they add on to there. So my costs are actually higher than $2.05 a square foot, and that needs to be accounted for in the value of my inventory. So that's why we have the non-material costs right there. This is for the entire order itself. I'll show you later on, there's a place to do this for specific lines within this purchase order. I'm going to go to the detail and I'm going to tab through, and notice I'm going to tab right through that sales order number because this is not a buyout. This is just a restock of inventory. So I'm going to be buying 3/8 inch clear. Now, if you don't know your code, again, we have binoculars to look it up. And I could say I need to buy 13 pieces if I wanted to, or I can come back and say, actually, I want one case of 72 by 130. I've established 72 by 130 as one of my standard sizes or my stock sheets, and I've told GlassTrax that there are 17 pieces per case there. So if you can do it either way, you can put 17 pieces if you want, or you can say one case. GlassTrax knows that's about 17 pieces of glass for this particular stock sheet size. And I'm going to say it's $2.05 a square foot. It does show you the last time you bought this. It was $2.55 a square foot from Viracon. So you can see, oh, this is a better deal. I'm saving some money here. And then I'm going to say my line's finished, and here's where I can add those other costs for this specific line. So we added a 12% surcharge for the order as a whole, but let's say there's a specialty charge just for this particular line, maybe a special crating fee because it's a certain thickness or whatever it might be. You can add other costs that are tied directly to just this line. Once you're done, you can say order's finished. You can print a purchase order, email that purchase order to your contact at the vendor, or you can export the file out if your vendor has the ability to import purchase orders on their system. If they're using GlassTrax, that's a good option there. The paperwork can be reformatted to meet your needs, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that part. So that's the first way. That is a purchase order to restock inventory. The second way that I mentioned was a purchase order buyout. In order to do that, you have to have a sales order going to a customer entered first. So I've recently put in an order right here. I'll pull it in, and you'll notice here that the first line is a buyout. There's only one line, is a buyout. This is tempered glass. Let's say I do not have a tempering furnace, so I have to buy out my tempered glass. Now you can default certain items to be automatically bought out, as you can see here. The other option there is direct ship or coming from stock. Those are the two other options. I've got it all filled out and I'm ready to go. So if I want to issue a purchase order buyout for this specific order now, I'm going to come to return to header and go to create PO. This will bring open my purchase order buyout screen. The reason we have this screen is because it allows you to combine different purchase order buyouts to a single PO. So for example, let's say over the course of the day, I put in 5 different orders for 5 different customers for this 3/8 inch clear tempered glass of various sizes, and I'm going to send all of those to my vendor, my Glassman vendor. In order to save you guys some time and combine some things, make it a little bit easier for you, you could select multiple different sales orders and different lines on those sales orders and put them onto a single PO to a single vendor. That way it doesn't have to be one for one. Now, you do have the ability and the option to do one for one if it keeps things more clear for you. That's definitely an option, but you can combine them to a single purchase order if you choose. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm buying this. It's $2.05 a square foot, and I'm buying it from Glassman. If I don't fill it out here and I create purchase order, it's going to prompt me anyway, but I'll pass over the notes. There's my new number. I'll create a new number right there. And it'll go ahead and create a new purchase order for me automatically. So in this case, I've got this Glassman comes in automatically. All I have to do is put in a ship date. If I go to my detail, you'll notice here's that 3/8 inch clear tempered. It's 2 pieces. The same dimensions came in. But now notice I've got the sales order number and the line number here. So when I receive this inventory in, it will pop up and say this receiving has inventory that has been auto-reserved. Would you like to print an auto-reservation report? At that point, it will go ahead and print out, or at least do a print preview of everything that is being received and what order and what customer it's for. So for example, in this case, when I receive this glass in, it'll pop up and say, this glass is for ABC Glass Co. for order number 16227, line number 1. And that way you know exactly what this is fulfilling. Okay, so that's the second way to do this. Again, that's the purchase order buyout. The last way to do this now is to do a supporting PO. Like I mentioned, this is for a third party, like freight, for example. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to purchases and I'm going to go to purchase, or I'm going to go to enter supporting purchase orders. I'm going to tab or enter for my next available number. My cost type is that drop-down menu. Those are the same non-material costs that I showed you earlier. So let's say it's freight. And I'm going to go ahead and look at my vendors here and just see what we've got. We've got FedEx right there. And I'm going to say, hey, they're charging me $500 lot. That means a flat rate. They're charging me $500. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. You can print that out if you want to. Most people don't because it's just going to be attached to the regular purchase order. I'm going to come back into that first purchase order that I did, 16227. And I'm going to come to my non-material costs, and I'm going to say, hey, this freight is a third party, and I believe it was 16229, but if I don't know, I can always look it up right there. And it knows right there, $500 from FedEx. So now I should be expecting to put in an invoice, a PO invoice from FedEx, and a PO invoice from Glassman. And it keeps those two separate, but yet the cost of those two things get allocated across the inventory that you're buying. So that's how you do purchase orders for restocking, purchase order buyouts, and a supporting purchase order as well for third-party involvement. If you have any questions, we're happy to go over this as well. Feel free to email our tech support. Our email is glasstraxtech@kssco.com.